And hello, good morning. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv, .television. It's a Monday. Just another manic Monday. And the weather here is very hot. It's steamy. I'm already sweating. And I've been here 1 minute. And I'm a little bit late in getting started because you can see we have romantic lighting now. I'll tell you what's going on with that in a minute. But it's going to be 76, 77 degrees today. Next couple of weeks, we're going to be in the 80s already. Is it May or is it August? And we're expecting tornadoes tonight between 5 and 7 p.m. Who knew? It's going to be an exciting day weather-wise. So as you can see, we have this new romantic lighting. And what I decided to do is I did some research over the weekend to find the color of sunlight, because I love California, that California glow of light. And I checked and I saw that from here to here, I had our lights set here. Actually, I should go this way. I had the lights set too far up, so everything looked warm and delightful. I guess artificially, because it changed the color of things. The color that it is no longer that color. So then I said, okay, well, I'll do some research, find out what the color of natural sunlight is. And boy, oh boy, it's a lot cooler, lighting-wise, than what I had prescribed. So I took our main lights, 4 key lights and 2 main lights here, and I put them down on our natural sunlight. And what I realized is we also have LED lights over here and the one back there in the corner that you can now not see because I turned it off. And those LED lights are not sun LED lights as they're advertised. They're more orangey and yellowish and golden looking. And I guess my eye was matching the color of those lights to what I was setting up with our Elgato lights. So everything looked the same lighting-wise, tone-wise, temperature-wise, but the colors were not right. Pinks tended to look white. A red with blue overtones, undertones, and came off orange. So it was like bizarro world of color. So I fixed these lights, and then the other lights don't match. And they're not really necessary. They just kind of light up the room. They're our regular work lights. So this morning, right before the show, I said, what if I just turned off those orangey everyday lights and just went with our programmed natural sunlight light. Just what you get. I look slightly better, maybe, right? Face is red because I'm very hot. Neck is very white. Arms white. Guns out when the sun's out. I lowered the intensity of that light, which I usually had pumped at 100 so we could see it. But when it's darker in here and the regular lights are off, then you can tone that down a little bit and get a little bit of texture, a little bit of shadow. There's a light down here on the floor that shines up on this. And I replaced the batteries in these lights, which are battery lights. And now we have a romantic live stream. I say it's going to be delightful. Now, will this work for Jana Marie on the weekends? 11 a.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday. I don't know. But I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be good, it'll be romantic. We'll be able to see her beautiful face. And boy, what a return for Jana Marie. It was a wild weekend. That's the only way to say it. We had her friends from Iowa and the students from New York, and they were all there at the same time. And it was a wild conversation. talking about red glasses, talking about families, talking about hearing aid Barbie, and then Sunday talking about menopause in the workplace, which you think would be like, that's weird. No, not really. Very fascinating. A lot of stories shared over the weekend. Well, as you may remember from last week, we have been battling a bot problem on our new Discord server. And we have Mr. Wick, who is a bot who's out there protecting us. And Mr. Wick is very vigilant and tough and doesn't let a lot of things through. And our good friend Ellie had some problems registering, but we got her in. And then Mr. Wick purged Ellie over the weekend because she said, reacting to our live stream on Saturday, I like those glasses. Purged! Ellie, time out, 2 minutes, Mr. Wick says. So I tried to figure out, what is this going on? So I asked the Wick people, and our profanity filters were set to the harshest, and they go with parts of words. So asses is a part of glasses, according to Mr. Wick. So, glasses, in that circumstance, violation, Ellie's out. So the solution is to turn that off, turn another thing off, and then add all your filthy, dirty words that you specifically want removed, and be careful because partial words get botted, like glasses for. So that was a learning experience. But the last 3 days have been just wonderful. Ever since we sort of got rid of our Disboard membership, we have not been raided. I wake up and our overnight raids are gone, and I feel so wonderful. And then I admit that I feel a little bit lonely. Like, what have I done? Why is my server no longer popular enough to be raided by these bots? Even though nothing's going on, it's me, Ellie, and Jana sometimes. And then, when he shall awaken this morning, I'm in there looking around, and oh boy, last night while we were relaxing and not paying attention to our computer, we got a whole new set of raids. We got a raid of 3. We then got a raid of 9. We got another raid of 9. We got another raid of 3 and another raid of 7. And Wick caught them all, kicked them all, took care of it. But I'm thinking, now where's that coming from? That's too much. I don't want to get raided like that all day, every day, because then it blocks the good, honest, nice people like Ellie who's just trying to get registered. But this is the world in which we live. A fenced-in world and a fenced-off world. So the good guys try to battle the bad guys, and the bad guys just want another way to, I guess, come in and harass you, or to sell their crypto, or to convince you to give up your NFT wallet so they can steal your money. I don't know what's going on. I think the whole thing's just ridiculous. But as a server owner, it's something you have to deal with. So now I have to try to go in today into Mr. Work and see if I can figure out where exactly all of those raids were coming from. Because the last time I checked, a lot of them were coming from invites that Disboard had created when I allowed Disboard on our server. Who knows? I have no idea what's going on. And another, I guess you could say, victim of Mr. Wick is my wonderful, I thought, attempt to also caption, live caption, using the Scriptly bot this live stream on our Discord server. And live voice is there. You can go join our live voice server by letting me know who you are and what your intentions are, and then you can speak to me as if we have a conversation with our voice instead of having to type it in. But I also had it set up for Scriptly to go in there and to transcribe the live stream. Hey, neat, right? Yeah. And every time I would speak, Scriptly would pause and then transcribe what I was saying and put it in our text chat area. Mr. Wick did not like that. And kept deleting. This is a raid. Alarms. Someone's posting walls of text. Excuse me, this is not allowed. Purge. So every time I'm speaking, every 10 seconds, Wick is going in there, delete, which is the way he is supposed to behave. It's the way Mr. Wick is set up. So I asked about that. They said, well, you can't tell Mr. Wick to leave Scriptly alone, even though you have. Because the way Scriptly is behaving, it's creating heat and getting Mr. Wick's attention. So then I realized there was really no way around that. So I just had to do what any good Discord server owner does and make the hard decision and just get rid of it, which was a little bit difficult for me. So Scriptly's gone. Wick is happy. Ellie is in our Discord server having a good time. And I went in there, and I had a lot of other bots in there that were just kind of interesting that I was experimenting with, having fun with, seeing what they could do. And all those are gone too. Only the essential bots are in there now. And so far, they're all getting along. Although I do have a welcome bot that I just love because it posts a welcome message to new people joining your server. But the problem is, the welcome, I thought I had this program, the welcome message gets sent no matter who's joining your server, even if Mr. Wick throws them out later. I thought that the welcome thing was set so once Wick cleared somebody, then they would be welcomed. But I've been playing with that for a week, and it just does not work as far as I can figure it out. So I had to stop the welcome message. So I guess I just have to welcome people on my own if they show up. Which is all fine. It's all part of the experience of figuring out how these things work in the real world. Because everyone wants to live in the unreal world. So Scriptly's gone. In other news, I like to say there's no such thing as a coincidence. But in this case, I'm going to say it is a coincidence. Because I am escaping any personal responsibility. We're giving my new friend that I've never met, John Fetterman, a stroke. This is my Boles Blogs article from last Tuesday about the wonderful John Fetterman, who is running for the Senate in the great state of Pennsylvania. And this is his official, he's currently Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania. This is his current photograph. This is official photograph from the state of Pennsylvania. No suit, no tie, wearing what appears to be like a work shirt, a Carhartt shirt, usually wears a hoodie. And the day that I published this article, John Fetterman had a stroke. And we found out about it yesterday. So they waited Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, waited 6 days to tell us that the leading Democratic candidate for the state of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, was in a hospital bed. So I feel for him. I hope he gets better. I think he's a wonderful politician. He's very plain-spoken. He doesn't take any guff from anybody. When people say stupid, mean, terrible things, he stands up and says, stop talking mean and stupid. Do the right thing. You know, he has a wonderful culturally diverse family. And I just think he's wonderful. But it does concern me now that he's in the hospital. They say, hey, he's fine, his brain is fine. Is it true? I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But I hope for the people of Pennsylvania and for the people of the United States of America that John Fetterman is going to be okay. Because we need him. But I think his stroke changes a lot. Because that's been his persona, that he's this big, 6'8" tall, huge, tough guy. And now he's in a hospital bed. But maybe that makes him more relatable and more human. I don't know. In other news popping this morning, wow, this is big. From Bloomberg, McDonald's is getting the heck out of Russia. What? Yep, out. They've been there for 30 years. They have sort of thought freedom and democracy and fast food to Russia. And then they realized it was all a ruse because nothing changed. So why stay? Which I think is just delightfully delicious. McDonald's is getting out of Russia after more than 30 years of operation in the country. Stepping up the corporate response to the invasion of Ukraine. Symbolic and economic weight because the fast food chain was one of the first Western brands to set up shop right there in Russia when it opened a branch in Pushkin Square, Moscow in 1990. And I think they would employ over 50,000 people. That's what, 62,000. And I think that they have been paying them, even though the stores are closed. But now that they're selling the business, I don't know what's going to happen. Whoops, why does this keep moving? Stop moving. McDonald's is pursuing a sale of its entire portfolio of restaurants to a local buyer and will de-arch, very interesting, the outlets, removing the McDonald's name, logo, branding, and menu. Though the company will obtain its trademarks in Russia. That's smart, you have to do that. Now you never know. Maybe they get rid of Putin and somebody comes in there and democracy is back. And McDonald's says, hey, I'm back too. The company did not name a potential buyer. And also, earlier Monday, isn't this wonderful news? This is how you fight back against tyranny. French car maker Renault agreed to transfer its 2.2 billion euro Russian business, including the producer of the Lada brand, to state entities for a symbolic sum, which is the nationalization of the car business in Russia. McDonald's said in March it was temporarily halting business in Russia, where it employs 62,000 people. The company said it will continue to pay local staff while it seeks a buyer. It reaffirmed its forecast for the current year and said it expects its operating margin to be in the 40% range as a result of the Russia charge. McDonald's shares rose 1% in pre-market trading. Beautiful. That's how you fight. And some may say, well, why punish the people? The workers didn't do anything. Why take away the Big Mac from Russia? Everybody deserves a break today. Well, sometimes the bottom line is not always more important than people. And sometimes to fight back against something wrong and something authoritarian, you have to take a drastic step. And we here in America are slowly making our way, inching our way into this authoritarian undemocracy. And it's going to be unfortunate. Just this morning, all over the news, Governor Pete Ricketts, current governor of the state of Nebraska, term limited, so he's out. But he's a rich white boy from a very rich family, made his money in stocks. He wants to be a senator. Wants to be president, but he has no personality. He won't translate. But he has a lot of money, and when you have a lot of money in a place like Nebraska that's barren and spread out and very red, you spend enough money, you're going to be elected. And so today, all over the news, oh, Nebraska, we're going to create a trigger law so that when the Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade, abortion in the state of Nebraska is going to become illegal. No exceptions for the life of the mother, no exceptions for incest, no exceptions for rape. You're pregnant, you continue. Hey, Gordon. Gordon says, the mistresses of the people who vote against abortion will have no problem accessing it. Absolutely right. No one in Pete Ricketts' family or circle of friends will ever want for an abortion. Really, really ridiculous. And before Roe, New York State was really the place to go. I'm going to take a trip to New York to see a show. And by the way, I'm going to have a medical procedure when I get there. And they said that 2/3 of the abortions in America for a time were done in the state of New York. It was the safe haven. And they said hospitals and doctors are preparing to become that safe haven again. And Ricketts is so proud, just saying, oh no, there's no circumstance at all where a woman ever can get rid of that baby. Life begins at conception, is what Pete Ricketts says. And you absolutely know he doesn't believe that at all. And last week, we talked about Margaret Atwood and this wonderful essay that she wrote. I invented Gilead. The Supreme Court is making it real. And this is The Handmaid's Tale. And in the 80s, I knew Margaret Atwood. I was working at Prairie Schooner as an editorial assistant, and she often had works of art published, poems published in Prairie Schooner, short stories. She was really a wonderful talent, and that was, my gracious, 40 years ago. And she's been at the top ever since. In the early years of the 1980s, right when I knew her, I was fooling around with a novel that explored a future in which the United States had become disunited. Ooh. Part of it had turned into a theocratic dictatorship based on 17th century New England Puritan religious tenets and jurisprudence. So we just saw that from Sam Alito. I set this novel in and around Harvard University, an institution that in the 1980s was renowned for its liberalism. But that had begun 3 centuries earlier, chiefly as a training college for Puritan clergy. It's very true. Yale University, School of Divinity, founded in religion. The Yale School of Drama is housed in a church. And that is where religious drama and modern drama meet. It all started in the church. And she goes on and talks about this wonderful novel that she wrote. And she ends this piece in The Atlantic. Oh, this just doesn't highlight very well. It's a PDF. Productive rights have been the focus of recent fracas, but only one side of the coin has been visible: the right to abstain from giving birth. The other side of that coin is the power of the state to prevent you from reproducing. The Supreme Court's 1927 Buck versus Bell decision held that the state may sterilize people, eugenics, we've talked about it here before, without their consent. Although the decision was nullified by subsequent cases and state laws that permitted large-scale sterilization have been repealed, Buck versus Bell is still on the books. This kind of eugenicist thinking was once regarded as progressive. Keep the people pure. We don't want any disabled people, mentally ill people around. We want a pure race. And some 70,000 sterilizations of both males and females, but mostly females, took place in the United States. Thus, a deeply rooted tradition is that women's reproductive organs do not belong to the woman who possesses them. They only belong to the state. Wait, you say it's not about the organs, it's about the babies, Margaret Atwood writes, which raises some questions. Is an acorn an oak tree? Is a hen's egg a chicken? When does a fertilized human egg become a full human being or person? Our traditions, let's say those of the ancient Greeks, Romans, Christians, have vacillated on this subject. At conception, at heartbeat, at quickening. The hard line of today's anti-abortion activists is at conception. Hey, Pete Ricketts, hey! Which is now supposed to be the moment at which a cluster of cells becomes ensouled. But any such judgment depends on a religious belief, namely the belief in souls. Not everyone shares such a belief, but all, it appears, now risk being subjected to laws formulated by those who do. That which is a sin, which a certain set of religious beliefs is made to be a crime for all. And the previous pope said, hey, he was a scientist. John Paul VI. He said, hey, as a Christian, as a Catholic. Now, some people say that Catholics are not Christians, which I find very bizarre. And where the line is drawn, I don't know. But the Pope said you can believe in evolution as long as you believe that it is God who puts the soul in the person. Which I thought was a very clever and very genius way of getting around a very sticky scientific sets of truths and matters of fact. Let's look at the First Amendment. It reads, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press. I'm not showing you this. Or prohibiting the free exercise speech thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right people to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. The writers of the Constitution, being well aware of the murderous religious wars that had torn Europe apart since the rise of Protestantism, wished to avoid that particular death trap, that there was to be no state religion, nor was anyone to be prevented by the state from practicing his or her chosen religion. And then she says, the Alito opinion purports to be based on America's Constitution, but it relies on English jurisprudence of the 17th century, a time with the belief in which witchcraft caused the death of many innocent people. The Salem witchcraft trials were trials. They had judges and juries, but they accepted spectral evidence in the belief that a witch could send her double or specter out into the world to do mischief. Thus, if you were sound asleep in bed with many witnesses, but someone reported you supposedly doing sinister things to a cow several miles away, you were guilty of witchcraft. You had no way of proving otherwise. Similarly, it would be very difficult to disprove a false accusation of abortion. The mere fact of a miscarriage or a claim by a disgruntled former partner will easily brand you a murderer. Revenge and spite charges will proliferate, as did arraignments for witchcraft 500 years ago. If Justice Alito wants you to be governed by the laws of the 17th century, you should take a close look at that century. Is that where you want to live? And she's also said, rather eloquently, that when the state forces a woman into having a child, that is a form of slavery. The state is not going to pay for it, pay for the baby, pay for the care. None of that. You're completely on your own. Your father raped you. And you are 12 years old. And you're going to have that baby. And that's the end of it. It seems like it's an incredible thing that we're going that close to that edge. But there are some in the right wing who are very happy to push us over that bloody line. And now we're taking a very brief break. We return in a moment. back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, B-O-L-E-S. .tv. We're here Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern, with our whole new look, our new lighting look, surrounded by darkness and shadow, reflecting the status of our souls. And boy, it's hot and sticky. It's in here right now, in this room, 78 degrees and 55% humidity. And I have the fan on. Killing me, laddies. Hey, speaking of being killed, what's going on with the old crypto market? Oh boy. Big losses, people are panicking. I'm not. This is part of the swinging pendulum of life. And as the great writer-director Mike Nichols told me, the object of a good life is understanding that life is a pendulum, swinging into and out of the S word, a big pile of steaming S word, okay? And the trick of living a good life is knowing which direction the pendulum is currently swinging. Are you going into the S, or are you coming out of it? And right now, crypto's in the S. Will it last long? I don't think it's going to be a problem. But that doesn't mean people aren't panicking. And it depends. You know, I would leave my stuff in the stable coins, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Then there are 100 other 8 coins. Strange coins, Doge coins, Litecoin's not too bad, but all these others that people have sunk their life savings in. And there are people in some of these crypto groups are saying, I've lost my entire life savings. Gordon says, I'm sure you mean the syrup, the maple syrup. What a mess. Yes, syrup. But if you're in the long run, or if you're trying to flip a profit, and there are really annoying people who like buy a piece of artwork and then they want to flip it the next day for double the price and they can't and they go complain and why isn't your art better? It's just those people, you just want to ignore them and hope that they go away soon. When you get involved with something, you're not getting involved short term. You're getting involved for a long ride, and it's going to have its ups and downs. And here are the ups and downs right now. Ethereum is way down. We used to be around 40,000 for Bitcoin and 3 for Ethereum. And they're both down. This is just today. So right now, Ethereum, about 2,000. Bitcoin, painful, 30,000. It goes up, it goes down. 5 days, up and Z and down and Z. Okay. A month, more dramatic fall. 6 months, it goes up and it goes down. Year to date, it goes up and it goes down. 1 year, it goes up, it goes down, it stabilizes. 5. Low, 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 low. Bing, 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 low, low, bing, 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 low, low, low. That's what it does. It goes up and down. It swings back and forth. Into and out of the steaming pile of maple syrup. So I say don't worry about it. Unless, of course, you invested every cent you had in ApeCoin or whatever it is. This is Terra is, I guess, the bad thing in all of this. Losing $45 billion. This week's undoing of the Terra USD algorithmic stablecoin. Right there, you're in trouble. If you're known as an algorithmic stablecoin, run! And its sister token, Luna, has ramifications for all of crypto. Now, this is Bloomberg. They don't like crypto, but it's Bloomberg, so I don't mind taking a look at it because they're very well researched, but they're not fans of crypto. First, there's the immediate impact. The rapid collapse of a once popular pair of cryptocurrencies sent a ripple effect across the industry, contributing to plummeting coin prices that wiped hundreds of billions of dollars of market value from the digital asset market and stoked worries over the potential fragility of digital asset ventures. Sirens in the background, if you can hear them. Then there are the knock-on effects. In addition to delivering punishing losses to individual users and investment firms, the spectacular failure of a market darling like Terra. I didn't even know what Terra was. I've never even heard of Terra, and I'm not a big crypto person, but I do try to pay attention. Market darling like Terra threatens to have a cooling effect on the fundraisings that have jacked up crypto startups' valuations in the recent years. Venture capitalists who have long been some of the industry's biggest cheerleaders may not have had quite the same risk tolerance as of now, especially those directly caught in the crossfire. Gordon says, about a year and a half ago, a fitness company announced they were buying a smart bike company. I thought that's a winning acquisition. $1,000 of stock purchased. A year and a half later, that $1,000 of stock was valued at $121. Oh no! Gordon, swing into the pile of S. The syrupy pile of S. That is painful. But when it falls that far, what else can you do except have diamond hands? Which means hold on for dear life. So this is everything. Oh, everybody's going broke. NFT markets are off. And it's true. I mean, I'm just kind of in a holding pattern. I have plenty of NFTs. I'm very satisfied. I don't have a lot of Bitcoin. I'm very satisfied. My Ethereum wallet is basically nothing. I'm very satisfied. I got in, did my stuff, got my stuff. Now it's all crashing. Fine, let it crash. And if I had more available cash, I would be buying Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's super duper 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 cheap right now. But I understand why some people are reluctant to try that because they don't want to get burned, they don't want to lose their money. And that's the old saying, look, investing in anything, stock markets, business, crypto, you have to be able to have the mindset, okay, I'm investing in this and I'm not going to see it again for 10 years. Not even going to look at it. Just buy it, put it away. If it goes up, it goes up, it goes down, it goes down. That's why they say don't look at your retirement plan, don't look at your IRA, just put the money over there, let it happen, and then when the time comes, then look at it. But don't look at it every day because you drive yourself crazy. But there's some people who love to drive themselves crazy, so this is a long story. It's a little bit depressing, but it's really not if you understand what's going on, which is that these things are cyclical. And right now, crypto is in a cyclical market, which to me is just fine. Now, it's almost tiring to talk about this topic. But there was a big racially motivated shooting in Buffalo, New York over the weekend. Ten people dead, people injured. And this white supremacist guy drove 3 hours from his white enclave to go in there, using the replacement theory as his rationale for gunning down black people in a grocery store. Going in there, shooting unarmed, hungry people. That's what he did. And he's supposed to be some kind of hero. To some. And it's just astonishing. And you get a little weary of hearing about these shootings. And then the next day, hey, not to be outdone, Laguna Woods. Church shooting, California. Dead, critically injured everywhere. And I guess that as you get older and you start aging and you become numb to all of these shootings, I mean, it's just, you laugh for the art of crying. And I finally realized in 2012, 10 years ago, that we were in a hopeless situation. And I'm talking about Sandy Hook. 26 dead, including the nut that shot these people. And 20 of the dead were children between the ages of 6 and 7. And nothing happened. Nothing. So if the United States, as a collection of people, have no problem with the execution of 20 children, I don't know what really hope there is to stop this kind of behavior. And people worry, and people have analysis, and what is it about the United States that makes these crazy people want to shoot people? And the thing is, look, there are crazy people, insane people, motivated people everywhere in the world. The difference is here is easy access to guns and ammunition. In the last 5 months, we have had 201 mass shootings in the United States of America. 5 months. Nobody cares. Oh, it gets seriously reported on the news. Flipping channels this morning, CNN. For about 10 minutes, read the names of all the cities, all 201 cities, that have had a mass shooting this year. Seriously reading it. Dallas to Chicago, Philadelphia. Back and forth, reading back and forth. It's like, what is the point of this? Being dramatic. You're not offering any solutions, no insight, not putting anybody on the spot, like, why do you vote for guns? Why don't you restrict access? Bill Clinton restricted access to assault rifles, and then it expired, and the GOP just let it run out. Yeah, let everybody have a gun. It seemed completely and utterly hopeless. I guess there are no safe havens in America anymore. There probably never were. But it's certainly a concern as you wonder where we're going with all of this. Shootings in high school, the Parkland kids. I mean, it's just shocking. And there's no way out of it. That nobody has a plan. And if you're a shooter and you happen to be white, the police will buy a Burger King and take care of you. And if you're a black man running in the wrong neighborhood, well, then you're going to be shot in the street like a rabid dog. And there are people say, oh, we don't have a race problem in America. Not anymore. Oh, no, we all get together. We get along. Well, ask Buffalo about that today and see where it takes you. And just before I went on the air today, there was some government representative somewhere saying that this was a government plant. This person who shot up the people in Buffalo, he's a government plant put there to make the GOP look bad. And there are people who believe that ridiculousness. And that's the problem with America. Uneducated people who are angry and who have guns. And I don't know how that will ever be fixed, because even if we stopped selling any more guns in America right now, forever, we have so many guns that it would really make no difference. No impact at all. And now it's that time of day where we take a very brief blood pressure break. Back in a moment. And we are back from break. I'm David Boles. This is Boles.tv, BOLES.tv, and we're live with you here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Well, Gordon asked, have you seen the part of the Buffalo shooter's written statement that he was following Fox News' Tucker Carlson's white replacement conspiracy theory? I understand his manifesto is 180 pages long, and I've not looked at it. But I'm very familiar with the replacement theory. And it's very, very interesting. Because I believe Tucker Carlson is focused on immigrants. That the whole idea of immigrants is that the immigrants are coming in to replace the white people, therefore we cannot let in people. And then there's the great replacement theory that we had in Charlottesville. With the ridiculous chants in the streets with the tiki torches. From the ADA. ADL. 2017. Jews will not replace us. That was one of the rallying cries of the white supremacists who converged in Charlottesville in August 2017. So the replacement theory is not just for Mexican immigrants, not just for black people who happen to be hungry and shopping in Buffalo, but it also includes religious people. And where they get this idea that the Jews are trying to replace them is frightening and ridiculous. But they're good people on both sides. That's what our president said at the time. Both sides good people. While the sights and sounds of their rally shocked the nation, they came as no surprise to the American Defamation League. Our vigilance in tracking extremist groups has enabled us to warn law enforcement of what to expect when the rally was announced. Ugh. It's terrible. And then when you think of Sandy Hook, and you think of these grieving parents who lost these children, and then you have people in the right wing are saying it was all staged, it was all fake, they were actors. The children are alive, and here are their pictures as they graduate from high school. And it's all an absolute freakish lie. And yet, people believe the lie, because it's probably more convenient than a very difficult truth of parents who had to bury their 6-year-old. So here's an interesting report from Vox, and it's old. This is not a new report, it's an old report. After Sandy Hook, we said never again. Nobody said that. Obama may have said that, but nobody other than Obama said it. And then, hey, we let 2,654 mass shootings happen. And you can't even look at this. You scroll down, and it's beautifully written and beautifully researched, talking about Sandy Hook. And then 2016, a shooting in Orlando. 2017, a gunman fired in Las Vegas. Remember that? Parkland, Florida, killing 17. Anything changing? No, nobody cares. And when I say nobody, I mean the government. They're supposed to be there to protect the people. But are they? Not really. This map shows that almost no state is immune to mass crime violence, gun violence, even as crime and murder rates have generally declined in the past couple of decades. It's just embarrassing. And I don't know if it's the Wild West mentality. That's what other countries say. Oh, America was born in conflict and Indian wars and civil wars and settling the Wild West. They settle arguments with guns, not talking. And this one only goes back to 2013. I mean, imagine all the killings that happened since in the last 10 years. This is an old chart. But did anybody care? I guess this goes up to 2020, I think. So it's a couple of years old. Not a lot of hope out there. Speaking of hope, people are talking about Doctor Strange, the movie. And in some places you read, oh boy, this is the big hit. Everybody loves Doctor Strange, making all this money. What a hit it is. And then you have more reasonable people, I say, who say, okay, sure, we want all movies to be a hit. We're in the movie business. But let's take a look at what's really going on and what the trends are telling us about this movie, Doctor Strange. And here is some analysis. Doctor Strange, the movie, takes a steep drop as total grosses fall below 100 million again. What? How could that be? I heard it's a big hit. After nearly 2 weeks of play, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness sits at 688 million worldwide, which sounds really terrific. It is headed to around $1 billion ultimately in theaters. A fine achievement, more so for a Marvel entry that clearly has not achieved the level of satisfaction that top entries like Spider-Man No Way Home did. And here's where it gets really interesting for people who know and who just don't cheerlead and repost PR releases. The biggest opening of the year has hit its mark, but it won't exceed it. A 67% second weekend domestic drop. At the high end for comic book blockbusters assures that. With $292 million in, look for it to easily surpass The Batman, currently at $369 million. But hey, only because it opened with $52 million more than the DC Comics hit, The Batman. Matt Reeves' blockbuster, The Batman, made $66.5 million its second weekend, off 50%. Among recent start of summer Marvel releases, the drop has been within a steady range of 55 to 59%. Now, this is really deep analysis. I love it. Last December, Spider-Man No Way Home also fell 67%, which is a lot. But its exaggerated decline was tied to a second Friday landing on Christmas Eve, which is normally a dead zone for theaters. Doctor Strange remained the dominant force in theaters, according for about 2/3 of all grosses. And that is the problem. Between its steep drop and only $31 million for everything else playing, the $92 million total continues an unsettling, ongoing pattern. So you think you have the world's greatest hit. And then the people who know, the people who look at the statistics and the trends and see what's happening are saying, wait a minute. Doctor Strange, sure, big hit first weekend, but after that it has no legs, as they say in the business. And it's over and it's not going to get any better. Speaking of getting better, here's a cat story from Japan. More sirens in case you hear them in the background. Cats can understand feline roommates' names, recognize faces, says a Japanese study. Now, what I want to know is, cats understand feline roommates' names. Now, does that mean cat roommates? Or does it mean people who think they are cats? From Osaka. Cats learn the name and faces of their feline friends they live with, a group of scientists from Kyoto University and other institutions have discovered. According to the team, which published its findings in the peer-reviewed scientific reports, the discovery could help prove cats' linguistic cognition. Loving that. The team focused on a behavior common to humans and animals, staring at a thing or event longer due to surprise when the unexpected happens, and tested a total of 48 cats that lived in groups of 3 or more in regular households and at cat cafes. 19 felines at regular homes and 29 at cat cafes. The scientists had a cat listen to one of its feline roommates' names being called, and immediately after that it was shown pictures of the name's owner and other cats on a laptop monitor. As a result, household cats tended to stare at the monitor longer, with the name being called and the photo on the mirror and monitor didn't match. Gordon says, last night at 7:50 p.m., I told the cats I am going into the pantry to get spaghetti. Not your cat food, okay? Spaghetti. I feed them at 8 p.m. sharp. I opened the door to the pantry and they came running. No, no, no. I said spaghetti. I showed one of them the spaghetti and said, this is not cat food, okay? They seemed bothered. Now, I've heard that some cats will eat pasta. I don't know if it's healthy or not, but they do seem to like it. And I love it. That you don't run the cat runs the house. I love that story. Now, some will say, Gordon, you should have retrieved the spaghetti at 8:05 p.m. because they would have been preoccupied by their feeding time at 8 o'clock. But I understand. Cat cafe felines, on the other hand, showed no significant difference in their reactions. The team believes that cat cafe pets have fewer opportunities where their individual names get called because there are many cats at such cafes, and that this factor affected how they reacted in that experiment. Other studies have shown that dogs remember the names of their toys. Similar studies on cats, however, had no advanced, as felines exhibit greater differences from one animal to another in expressions of their emotion and behavior. Gordon says. The Malka was hungry first. And the Malka is not Gordon cat. Or dog or pet. It is his beautiful daughter. Malka first, cats wait. We'll see, said the cats. Saho Takagi, a research fellow specializing in comparative cognitive science at Azabu University, who took on his research while studying at Kyoto University, said the significance of the finding. It's believed the cats are indifferent to things that don't benefit them. It's Malka at spaghetti. But we've learned that they pay attention to the communication between their human and feline roommates. Going forward, I want to study how cats learn the names and the faces of these other cats. And I am reminded of when our beautiful cat Jack was hanging around. And sometimes we would imitate the sound of the tab on the cat food can. And that was wherever he was in the house or the apartment, and you couldn't find him. If he went, he would come running from the most mysterious places. And then, of course, you'd have to feed him because then he wouldn't keep coming. But sometimes you're just sitting around talking, and sometimes your mouth goes as you're talking. And just that, not even a, but just a, guess take a nap. Ah! Where's the food? I heard the sound. Ah! And then you have to get up from whatever you're doing and go feed the cat because the cat's responding to something that you created. Hey, that's not my sound, that's your sound. Mr. David, now open up this spaghetti and give me something to eat. And then we're going to come back after taking a very brief break and talk about a doctor who has figured out how to have transgender people have a baby. It sounds wildly impossible, but this is our world now. Back in a moment. And we're back from break. I'm David Boles here on Boles TV, BOLES.TV, live Monday through Friday. And January on the weekend, 11 a.m. Eastern. In sign language, talking about disability, talking about communication opportunities for the deaf, the disabled, the other disadvantaged. Plus, a lot of wacky fun, I tell you. A little mind-blowing on Saturday. A little odd. So here's another interesting story, and this is from the Mirror. Now, some people will say, oh, the Mirror, it's UK, it's not reliable, why are you talking about this? But this is a story that appears in the Mirror, but I've also seen this story appear other places. So if it's a big joke, the joke's on me. But I might as well share it because it's interesting. Doctor planning risky womb transplant to allow transgender women to carry a baby. Now, if this is the UK version of The Onion, then they got me. And I'm sharing something that's hilariously maybe funny to you. But if it's not, if there's a sliver of truth in this, then hey. A doctor has said how he is optimistic about his plan to transplant a uterus into a transgender woman so she could go on to carry a baby. The organs would be taken from a dead donor or from another woman who decided to become a man and had their wombs removed in the process. I did not know that happened. And that's my naivety. I know that there's, gender reassignment, genital replacement, modification surgery, but I guess it makes sense that if you're deciding to become a man, you don't need your womb or your uterus anymore. This would mean that the person could fall pregnant through IVF, although the operation has never officially been performed successfully yet. Every transgender woman wants to be as female as possible, and that includes being a mother. The way towards this is with a uterine transplant, the same as a kidney or any other transplant. This is the future. We cannot predict exactly when this will happen, but it will happen very soon. We have our plans, and we are very optimistic about this. Dr. Kashuk said that about 20% of his patients are from overseas, with many flying in from the UK. And his business is booming. Womb transplants, which cost thousands of pounds, are still considered to be an experimental procedure. There has only been one well-known case of a trans woman having a uterus transplant, but she died just months after suffering complications. It cannot actually connect the woman's uterus to the fallopian tubes, so the operation doesn't lead to anyone becoming pregnant naturally. But experts claim it's theoretically possible to impregnate a trans woman using IVF, in vitro fertilization, with the embryo being implanted. In 2017, doctors said medical advances means it's theoretically possible for a trans woman to give birth after a successful operation. Wild, fascinating. Yes, it's strange, but strange things happen. I know, for example, a case whereby the conceiving male used his mother as a surrogate to have his child with a donor egg. So his mother gave birth to his son, who was also his brother by birth. And why cannot you operate on this person? Because the doctor is my mother. Isn't that how the trick goes? No one believes that a woman could be a doctor. Well, Speaking of doctors, now this is, again, very interesting. From the Los Angeles Times. An expert tells us we have erred when it comes to mental illness. Now, I find that very interesting as an argument. The history of mental illness and its treatment is not for the faint of heart. Ice water plunges to the early days of electroshock therapy, from lobotomies honored with a Nobel Prize in 1949 to the Thorazine catatonia, to its treatments, belong to the pages of a dystopian novel. Typically targeting the poor, the indigent, the most vulnerable, and the attempted cures were cruel and unethical and often racist. And you remember Rose Kennedy? Her father thought she was promiscuous and didn't want her having any babies out of wedlock because that would cut into his fortune. So he had her lobotomized to erase her sexuality, her need for a want of having sex, and it backfired. And it made her, as they say, I guess, into a vegetable. Functional vegetable, maybe, very low function. And it became the shame of the family, and every member of that family loved Sister Rose and visited her and took care of her after she was lobotomized by her father. So this author's work was initially driven by one simple question. Why did society imagine the institutionalizing people was so important? And what was so much capital, intellectual, and financial devoted to this end? What impressed me the most, the author said, is how recalcitrant mental illness is, how difficult it is to comprehend, how hard it is to come up with effective treatments, and ultimately, how it is best to be honest about what we don't know, so we can pursue a more eclectic approach to treating it and not be certain we have the right answer. And he has a new book, and he talks about it. We look no further than our jails and the gutters of our streets to view what the failures of contemporary mental health policy have wrought. The emptying out of asylums without any serious consideration of what was to replace them has contributed to problems of the homeless and the sidewalk psychotic that are now part of the fabric of many of our cities. And who goes and deals with those homeless people? It's not social workers. It's not doctors, not nurses. It's really not even EMS. It's the police. And some places are trying to change that so that the police work on crime and criminals, and there needs to be a social response from mental health professionals and homeless professionals who can go and help these people who are clearly mentally ill and not put them in jail and not arrest them and not put them in for processing. We ought to recoil from arrangements that condemn helpless and suffering human beings to homelessness and prisons, and stop pretending that chemistry is the sole and singular way forward, meaning medication. Those afflicted with serious forms of mental illness have been cast into the wilderness, a brutal and often fatal outcome for many with few resources of their own. It's tough. And a lot of people who are maybe socially awkward, but maybe mentally stable, can fake it. They know how to get along. They can pretend to not appear to be a threat. But if you are very smart but mentally ill, you don't have those skills anymore. And so you're just kind of yourself. That's a big risk. The stigma adds to the pain of those experiencing mental disturbances, often renders family members silent, and even extends its reach to those who claim to treat it. Psychiatrists are among the latest respected medical professionals. These attitudes are deep-seated and hard to erase. The problems they create are exacerbated by how pernicious mental illness is. The needs of people with mental illness are great, but in the competition for public resources, they are poor advocates for themselves. And the plight of their families generates only token sympathy from many. And the doctor says, I'm convinced that madness cannot be divorced from the cultural, social, and psychological matrix within which human beings exist. To deny that social and psychological factors play a major role in the genesis and course of mental illness is to blind ourselves to a mountain of evidence, epidemiological and otherwise, that teaches us that the environment powerfully matters. That said, I would be astonished, the doctor says, if it turns out that biology has no role to play in the origins of many major forms of mental illness. To dismiss any role for biological factors is to don a different set of blinkers. As my history shows, the intractable nature of the disease and the desperation of the afflicted has often proved a toxic combination, an invitation to therapeutic experimentation and excess, compulsory sterilization, removal of teeth, tonsils, and internal organs to eliminate the infections that were allegedly poisoning their brains, inducing life-threatening comas with injections of insulin, subjecting them to multiple episodes of electroshock treatments day after day, damaging the frontal lobes of the brain. These were unambiguously horrendous interventions. And the antipsychotics and antidepressants that have come to dominate psychiatric practice since the mid-1950s are more complex. These drugs are no psychiatric penicillin. For some sufferers, they provide a measure of symptomatic relief, and we need to acknowledge that. But at the same time, we should be clear-eyed and not exaggerate their value. A lot to think about. Terrific article. His name is Andrew Scull, a professor at UC San Diego, and he is an authority on the medical profession's tangled relationship with mental disorders. And now we've come to the end of our time together. It's been a wonderful show, interesting and insightful, and I thank you so much for being here. If you have any thoughts or questions, you can email me, david@boles.tv. If you have any curiosities or complexities you'd like Jana to help you with, you can email her, jana@boles.tv. On Twitter, we are David Boles, super follow to follow. On Facebook, we're just BOLES. That's our business page. On Instagram, we're Boles Books, TikTok, Boles TV, and if you're interested in joining our Discord server, we would love to have you. We're there 24/7, 365. Talking about a lot of things, getting the information out there, just so we can remain tied and tethered and in a communication stream with you as time goes on. So I hope to see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. There are tornadoes and 60-mile-per-hour winds in the forecast for this evening. It's going to be a rough night out there. But luckily, we're in a good, safe place, and I have high hopes that we're going to be all right. And our friend, Commissioner Gordon, says thanks for having us. And to you, I say thank you, Commissioner, for joining us here today, and we wish you all the luck with your cats and your pasta. Maybe if you had spelled out spaghetti for the cats, they would have been bored and run away. Could be. Think about it. I'll see you tomorrow.